fascinating. At a recent Dvar Rabbi meeting, the last one, when they announced that they were going to open up shuls and all that. So Rabbi Kostelitz told everyone to look at a certain commentary on the Gemara in Brachas Davav, the Chachmas Manoach, and the Chachmas Manoach quotes from the Sefer Shari Oira, and this is the idea that is said there. And it is fascinating. The Gemara says in Brachas, the Gemara says, Tana Abba Binyamin says, Ein tfilose shel adam nishmas elu beis hakneses. The words of prayer are only heard in a beis hakneses. And the Gemara brings a pasuk. Shenem l'shmoa el arina vel tefila b'makom rina sham tefila. We'll soon see what that means. So the Gemara says a fact that the tefillas are not heard except in the shul. So he brings down a quote from the Sefer Shari Ora that asks, he says, you mean all those tefillas that we daven out of shul are worthless? They're nothing? Ein tefillah shel adam nishmas. Hashem doesn't hear them. Doesn't mean he doesn't answer them, he doesn't hear them, but he doesn't. So what? It's all of Atala? But that's his question. You know, I was thinking, you could say, look, just because Hashem doesn't answer, he doesn't hear it, but still you're connecting to Hashem, that's also something. But still, it's hard to say, you know, if you can't go to shul. So then, like we had for so many months, I mean, recently we started, you know, the outdoor minyanim, but there's such a long period of time that we didn't daven. So how do we deal with that? What does that mean? So he brings and he says like this. He says, it's true. The Gemara says, "Ein tefillah shel adam nishmas elu beis hakneses." What it means is, of course, all those tefillas you've davened, and without a minyan, without the Aron, without the Torah, without all the elements that come together with davening in a shul, of course they're worthwhile, but they're held in abeyance. When you go back to the shul and you daven with kavan, you daven properly, and you return to the shul, then if you return with the right attitude, the right sentiment, the right mindset, and the right frame of mind, then all those tefillas are swept up and brought up to Shemayim. It's amazing. So that means, as we hopefully soon, some of us, I mean, we've really come back, those who are davening in the yard, already davening. But hopefully the Shabbos will be the first time that we're actually going to be in the shul for at least a few tefillas. Some of us, I think I'm going to choose to daven outside still, even though it's going to be hot the Shabbos, but nevertheless, I'm going to go to early minyan. But it's an interesting idea. So the question is why? Why is it? What does it mean? What does it mean that the tefillah that we missed out, the tefillah b'tzibur, and then we come back to the shul, then everything is justified or everything is, validated once we go back and in the manner we go back. So this is what I want to share with you, a thought that I'm developing, and I'll share with you in a beautiful story that I'm going to dedicate to Shai Stiga, because he knows one of the protagonists in the story. So first of all, how do we know that the tefillas are only heard in a shul? Where does that come from? So the Gemara brings a pasuk. The pasuk that says in Malachim when Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash, he makes a reference and he appeals to God that he should be l'shmoa el harina ve'el tefillah. You should go to the place where there's rina and tefillah. So there seems to be a correlation, and that's what Gemara says. Well, in a place there's rina, that's where there's tefillah. So what does it mean rina, and what does that mean a shul? So Rashi says, very cryptic, and I still don't think that I have the full answer. I'm going to start developing an answer. Rashi says something very cryptic. What does it mean the shul is special and is an indication that that's where tefillah comes, because it says rina? What does it mean rina? So Rashi says, I just had it here a moment ago, and he says, b'makam rina sham tehei tefillah. B'makam rina, because that must mean a shul. Because tefillah you can have anywhere, but you can only have rina in a shul. What's rina? What's the definition of rina? Rina literally means a song. It means, joy in a song. So Rashi says, bebeis hakneses, only in the beis hakneses you have rina. You can have tefillah everywhere, but the Shlomo says El Arina Vel Tefillah. Why is Rina unique to the shul? Shesham Omer Matzibah, because the tzibah joins together. Shirais v'tishbachos. They sing songs and praises. I mean, we do that anyway. We do that at home also. We sing Psuchei Zimra and things like that. But it says B'neimas kol arev, with the sweetness of a voice. Arev literally means pleasant. So what does that mean? Because in a shul is the place where we come, and the chazan gets up and we sings a song, we sing along, and that's where must be the place that it says that Hashem says. Shlomo says, God, Shmo el arena vel tefillah, to the arena. That means a shul, because where else is the arena? At home you sing, it's sort of flat. You just sing your solo. Who says you're Pavarotti? But when you come to a shul and people join together, that's a place for shul. So interesting. The definition of a shul in the pasuk that tells us that tefillah is only heard in the shul because we gather together to sing shiras v'shbachos, because there it is, neimas kol arev, with the sweetness of a voice that's arev. So what does that mean? So I saw a Chassidish Sefer says, I think from the Tver Shleimai, and he says, the word arev means sweet, but really the word arev doesn't mean sweet per se. It means harmonious. It means a mix. When you have mu'ura of something is mixed together, it means sort of like a harmony. It means when you have many components and you mix it properly together, you make a good milkshake, you make a good soup, and it's mu'ura, right? You puree it, or you sing a song, a symphony, mu'ura. So I think what it means is, and he says, it really means, it says like, Anochi Arvenu by the brothers in Yehuda, when he said he take surety for the brothers, it means, when you take responsibility for one another, when we're meshed with one another, when we come to a shul and people come together and they're bound by the needs that we each have, and they relate to each other with kindness and understanding, and they pray for one another, that's neimas kol arev. That's what he says. And I think maybe it really means, because when you come to shul and the joy that we express, and when we sing more than other parts of the tefillah, everyone can sing the davening together on their own little decibel level, on their own understanding. When you sing together the Kedusha, the Kaddish, and the different parts of the davening, you brought together. There's a certain neimus b'kol arev. In a simple sense, it's the harmony of voices, but obviously means in a deeper sense, because if everyone's disinterested in each other and people are distracted by davening, they're not really focused on the same goals, then you don't sing together. So it could be in a simple sense, in a physical sense of the singing and harmony, or it could be the harmony of interests and the harmony of the tzibur. And what I think it means, the Gemara is saying like this, when we weren't in shul, we were missing something. We're missing the tzibur. So we have to daven on our own. How do we know if we daven on our own is powerful enough to carry our tefillas to Shemayim like the tzibur? So the Gemara says, so that's what the Chachmas Menachah brings down from the Shari'era. It depends. It depends how you come back to the shul. Are you coming back with friendship? Are you coming back embracing one another? Are you coming back with sensitivity and to one another, understanding and kindness and forgiveness and all the things that come and create an entity called the tzibur? If we do it, then the tefillah is retroactively. We're all connected, and we basically had it all along. So if we bring it, so those are swept up with that achdus that we have when we come to shul. That's the beginning of my germ of my thought. That is twisting in my mind, and I share with you. You'll probably hear more from me on this as the next day goes on. But the reason why I came to this in a sense, because I came across a story, and the story is about a Rabbi that me and Reb Shai Stiga had together. He had him longer than I was doing it for a short time. Reb Chaim Epstein, was an unusual man, remarkable Eved Hashem. This is one of the sweetest people in the universe. And another Rebbe of mine, I had mentioned him on this forum, Reb Shmuel Miller, son of Rabbi Avigdor Miller, who was also a Rebbe. I went to a yeshiva called Yeshiva Eastern Parkway in the 50s and the 60s. Through the 70s, I was born in 52. I went to school when I was 6 years old. So from, 5 years old, even younger, when I was 55, 56, I started going to kindergarten, pre-1A, first grade, the whole spiel. I went through the whole school from bottom to top. My father was an official in the school, on the board, and did a lot for that school also. So it was very, very close together. And we had these two Rabbeim at the end of my career there was Rabbi Chaim Epstein, Reb Shmuel Miller. I mentioned I was from this first Talmidim. And Rav Shmuel Miller passed away not long ago from COVID. So it's really a schus. And I also want to say tonight, I said I would dedicate tonight's learning and the Chizuk to a young woman who Hashem should give us Yad Shmaya. She's undergoing, having a baby, someone very close to her. Her name is Tamima Basya Bas Tzipora, and her husband is Mordechai Ben Sarah. And Mitzvah Hashem, they should have a baby b'shotat maslachas. Hashem should be with them, and everything should go well, and be able to have that baby and raise that child together with the rest of the family. Tamima Basya Bas Tzipora, I said they have gone through a pretty rough time to get to this point. We're not getting into details, so Hashem should be a schus for this couple that I'm very involved in. I love very dearly, that this should be well. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story, and this is how the story goes. The story itself is a good story itself, but it's the explanation that Reb Shmuel gave at the end, Reb Shmuel Miller Zeches HaKadosh, that really brings this point that I'm talking about today. So it says like this: Erev Shabbos HaGadol this past year, one of Reb Chaim Epstein's children, Reb Shlomo Zalman, I believe he's the Rosh Yeshiva today, he received an envelope, arrived at his home in Lakewood with a return address, no name. He opened it up, and the letter's addressed to B'nai Hagoyin Reb Chaim, the children of Reb Chaim Epstein. And the letter written in Lashon Kodesh was directed to the children of Reb Chaim. He was Rosh Yeshiva Park, Zecher Melech was called. The letter writer explained that many years prior he had borrowed Reb Chaim Epstein's car and was concerned that perhaps he had caused damage to the muffler. I am therefore sending you $400 to divide among the children. I don't see Reb Chaim left much money. He was, this is probably the big Yerusha. They got $400.
Coming.
The letter writer explained that many years prior, he wrote in the letter, many years prior, he had borrowed Reb Chaim Epstein's car and was concerned that perhaps he had caused damage to the vehicle's muffler. I am therefore sending you $400 to divide among the children. Reb Shlomo Zalman looked at the signature and it said, "B'yedidos," with deep friendship, Shmuel HaKayin Miller. That's Reb Shmuel Miller, Rabbi's son. The letter had been sent by Reb Shmuel Miller, Rosh Yeshiva Beis Yisrael. Reb Shlomo Zalman shook his head. He could not believe what he was reading. Based on his calculation, it was over 40 years earlier that the story took place, maybe more. And Reb Shmuel was sending him a $400 check for an incident that happened over 40 years ago. There was no way he could take the money. He proceeded to call every one of his siblings and told them the details of the letter. They were all unanimous agreement that they would not accept any money from Shmuel. We won't take a penny from him, even if he owed it. We are meichel it fully. Once they all indicated they were meichel, Reb Shlomo Zalman asked each of them to speak it out and articulate it. He wanted to say there's meichel. And after he cleared it with the siblings, he phoned Reb Miller's home. Rebbe Miriam Miller, who also passed away from COVID. Never, she was such a wonderful lady. She died first, and he died. Rebbe Miriam Miller, Allah Shalom, answered the call. The Rebbe, with genuine warmth and care, if you knew her, that's who she was. She asked Rosh Shlomo Zalman about his family, wished him mazel tov and a recent simcha, and showered him with heartfelt bracha. Does the Rebbe know why I'm calling? She says, no, I have no idea. It's about the envelope. She says, what envelope? Shlomo Zalman told the Rebbe that the letter that her husband had written and smiled and mailed. I'm so happy, the Rebbetzin said excitedly. Why should my husband walk around and get over money he might owe? I'm the happiest person that he sent it. You're gonna have to.
You're housing them
You're gonna mute it.
in the resort hotel?
So, okay, I'll open it up later. Let me finish the story. Okay. She said, I'm happy. My husband waits his whole life. Look, he's Fadaigit. Baruch Hashem, he got it off his chest. I spoke to everyone in the family. Reb Shlomo Zalman says to the Rebbetzin, he says, and everyone's Michael. So he says, not so fast. I don't know if you'll get away with that with my husband, Reb Shmuel. Reb Chaim Reddy was gone. He died a while ago. Not that long ago, but previous year or two. I already wrote void on the check, he told the Rebbetzin. But what your husband did has taught us all how careful a person is supposed to be and how one is to deal with others. 50 minutes later, Reb Shlomo Zalman received a call from Reb Shmuel Miller, who provided some background to the story. He said, Reb Chaim and Reb Miller were friends. Both Talmidim of Rav Aaron Kotler in Lakewood. They later served as Magidei Shir in Shivas Parkway. That's where I come to. Reb Miller related that about 4 decades ago, when Reb Miller and Reb Chaim had spent the summer in Camp Teres Chesed, the yeshiva had a camp. Later on, it became privately owned. I went there. I was there for many summers in that same camp, and I remember exactly hearing shurim from both of them. And he borrowed his car to go to Mountaindale. When he pulled in somewhere, he heard a bang. He got out, examined the car, But all the tires looked fine and nothing seemed problematic, so he continued on his way. A day or two later, Reb Chaim was driving the car and noticed an issue with the muffler. When he met Reb Miller, he asked him if he also had a problem with the muffler. Reb Miller said he didn't realize it. At the time, Reb Miller didn't connect the bang he heard with the muffler damage. Later, after Reb Chaim fixed the muffler, it dawned on Reb Miller that the bang perhaps he heard was somehow connected to the muffler, and it was his fault. So he approached Reb Chaim and asked him Mechila if he had caused the damage. Reb Chaim forgave him wholeheartedly. About 9 years later, the matter was still on his mind, Reb Shmuel, and he once again sought forgiveness, which Reb Chaim, of course, granted. But the incident was still on Reb Miller's mind. As recently as 2 months ago, that's just 2 months ago, when this was written, he felt compelled to write a letter and send $400 to Reb Chaim's children in case he had indeed caused damage. This story, in the end, at this point, would be enough. And he says, but then he says like this, and this is where the punchline that relates to what I said earlier. Rosh Hashiva Rav Shlomo Zalman said, every member of the family is Meichel B'Lev Shalom, forgives with a full heart. Before ending the call, Reb Miller shared a thought with Rav Shlomo Zalman. He says, now, because of the coronavirus, Klal Yisrael set apart. It was when he died. This is when everyone was not even davening in shul or minyanim at all, and we don't have the koach hatzibur because we can't daven together. However, if everyone works on the Avos Yisrael, Klal Yisrael will become more biyachtos, and we will be'etzem have the koach hatzibur that way. If we can't have it by davening, we'll have the koach hatzibur from how we care about each other. With that warm message, the call concluded. A week later, Rebbe Miller passed away, and 7 weeks after that, on the 4th of Sivan, Reb Shmuel was nifta. Rav and Rebbe Miller left a remarkable legacy, carried on by their outstanding mishpacha, and also leaving us with a power lesson in integrity and always living with a cheshbon hanefesh. So many beautiful aspects to this story. But for my message today, it's really sum total. Davening is as powerful as we are ba'achdas. We were separate and we're coming back. The proportion that we come back with a sense of unity and caring and kindness and forgiveness and understanding and love, really love, that will power all those individual tefillahs because they were never really individual. It'll reflect on the magnificent tzibur that no matter how far we were pulled apart, when we're pulled together, we embrace each other, even if we can't still even shake each other's hands. So on that note, I share with you that thought. It means a lot to me, and I really appreciate having such a great audience here. And so Shaya, it was a great story, right? You agree, Shaya? Amazing. It's an amazing story. I see on Shaya's face.
100%.
Reb Chaim Esrim Shmuel, they were just Malachi Elyon, really. There are certain people in life you come across who just, like he said it, cheshbon nefesh and kindness, never ufgerekt, they never get angry. I mean, obviously, they raised children and they went to Rebbeim, I can't say they didn't get angry, didn't get upset, but they were just people who were just sterling midas. The Avos Hashem, the Avos HaTorah, and the Avos Yisrael was just something. And the menschlichkeit, they were just remarkable human beings. It was a fortunate when you go through life, keep your eyes open, try to meet those people and hold on to those memories. Because, unfortunately, we don't know how long they last. And, they both died relatively young in today's day and age, even though I think they both had been over 80 at the point. But 80 is young today. We want to make it till 120 at least. And with inflation, maybe another 10 years.